New Orleans, a city where music is life. Jazz, blues, funk and bounce all blend into a sound that's raw and real. The streets pulse with rhythm, from second lines to block parties, making music the city's heartbeat. Before Cash Money Records, New Orleans was already a hotbed of untapped talent, telling stories the rest of the country hadn't heard. The local sound was gritty, authentic, and deeply connected to the struggle and dreams of its people. Bounce music ruled the clubs and block parties, laying the foundation for a hip-hop revolution. This was the soil where legends would grow, a place where a kid could dream big and hear the future in every beat. When we talk about Lil Wayne and Birdman, remember? New Orleans wasn't just the setting, it was the soul of their story. The city's spirit is woven into the DNA of Cash Money Records and every artist who carried its flag. Into this musical storm stepped Brian "Birdman" Williams and his brother Slim. They saw the city's talent and decided to build their own empire. No handouts, just hustle. In 1991, Cash Money Records was born, selling tapes from car trunks and local shops. Their sound was pure New Orleans bounce, signing local legends and making anthems for the streets. Cash Money became the city's soundtrack, doubling down on their unique style. Birdman and Slim worked relentlessly, building a brand, a family, and a movement from the ground up. They proved you didn't need a major label to make noise. You could do it your way. The stage was set for a young prodigy to change everything. While Cash Money was rising, a kid named Dwayne Michael Carter Jr., Lil Wayne, was writing rhymes in Hollygrove. Wayne was a prodigy, channeling the city's energy and struggle into his lyrics from a young age. He formed the BGs with Lil Doogie, BG, showing skill and confidence beyond his years. Wayne's hunger was legendary, leaving verses on Birdman's answering machine demanding a shot. For Wayne, rap wasn't a hobby, it was his escape and destiny. Cash Money needed a superstar. Wayne was a once-in-a-generation talent. Their paths were about to collide, changing not just their lives but the entire hip-hop landscape. The legacy they'd build would echo for generations. Birdman grew up in the Magnolia Projects, learning the hustle and the value of loyalty and respect. He didn't want to be a pawn, he wanted to be a king, building Cash Money as a Southern dynasty. Inspired by moguls like Master P, Birdman aimed to own everything: music, publishing, the brand. He saw the soul in Southern rap and believed New Orleans talent could top the charts. Cash Money wasn't just a label, it was a movement, selling culture and a piece of the city itself. Every artist was a calculated move in Birdman's grand plan. His confidence and vision were magnetic, drawing people to his cause. From the mud of the Mississippi, Birdman was building an empire. Cash Money's early days were pure hustle. No offices, just Birdman and Slim grinding everywhere. They dominated New Orleans first, signing local heroes and making bounce anthems for the streets. Every dollar was reinvested. Better studios, more tapes, bigger marketing. They built an independent system controlling production and distribution. The grind was relentless, facing obstacles but never losing sight of the vision. Cash Money became a family, offering loyalty and opportunity to overlooked artists. Their foundation was sweat, ambition, and love for their city. This groundwork made their future success possible. Birdman merged street smarts with business savvy, bringing the Magnolia Project's energy into the music industry. Cash Money wasn't selling street culture, it was street culture, and that authenticity set them apart. Birdman's larger-than-life image masked a sharp, strategic mind always looking for the next move. The label's deep connection to New Orleans gave it an unbreakable bond with fans. Their music reflected real life, hustlers making music for hustlers. Buying a Cash Money tape meant supporting your city and your people. Birdman's dream was ownership and empowerment, turning struggle into generational wealth. That vision pushed Cash Money beyond New Orleans, ready for the national stage. In Hollygrove, New Orleans, young Dwayne Carter grew up fast, surrounded by struggle, resilience, and the sounds of the city. His mother worked tirelessly and music became his escape. Absorbing every lesson from the streets, Dwayne wasn't just another kid. He was destined to become Hollygrove's most famous storyteller. That quiet kid found his voice early. At just 8, Dwayne Carter was filling notebooks with rhymes. He wrote everywhere, at home, on the bus, in Hollygrove. His lyrics were mature, his work ethic relentless. Lil Wayne was more than a rapper. He was a prodigy, turning his world into poetry. As Wayne's local reputation grew, he naturally started linking up with other talented kids in the city. This led to the formation of his first real group. Around the age of 11, he connected with another young rapper from the Magnolia Projects, Christopher Dorsey, who went by the name Lil Doogie. Together they formed a duo called the B.G. Z, which stood for Baby Gangstas. The name was fitting, they were just kids, but their subject matter was a reflection of the hard-knock life they lived. They weren't pretending, they were reporting from the front lines of their own childhoods, and their raw authenticity was powerful. The B.G. Z created a buzz in the city. They were this anomaly, two preteens with the lyrical skills and raw energy of grown men. They recorded their first project, an album called True Story, which was released in 1995. This wasn't some major label release, it was a local project put out through an independent outlet. The sound was pure New Orleans bounce, but with a harder, more lyrical edge. It was on this project that Dwayne Carter officially became Baby D, a name that hinted at his future connection with the head of Cash Money, who was also known as Baby. It was a sign of things to come. True Story was a local phenomenon. It showed that these kids were more than just a novelty act, they were legitimate artists with a unique point of view. For Wayne, it was his first real taste of the music business. He was in a real studio, recording a real album and seeing it sold in local record stores. This experience solidified his dream. It made everything feel possible. He saw a direct path from writing rhymes in his notebook to hearing his voice come out of car stereos all over the city. The fire inside him grew even hotter. He knew this was what he was born to do, and he wanted more. The group was a critical stepping stone, but it was also where Wayne began to truly stand out. His intricate wordplay and unpredictable flows were already on another level. You could hear the makings of a superstar even then. While Lil Doogie, who would soon rename himself BG, was an incredible talent in his own right, there was something otherworldly about Baby D. He was a generational talent just waiting for the right situation to explode. The B.G. Z put him on the map locally, but his ambition was already looking far beyond the city limits of New Orleans. He was ready for the major leagues. Knowing he was destined for more, Wayne set his sights on the biggest label in the city, Cash Money Records. He knew that Birdman and Slim were the kings of the local scene, and he was determined to get their attention. He couldn't just walk into their office. He was just a kid from Hollygrove. So he came up with a plan, a relentless campaign of lyrical warfare. He found out Birdman's pager number and the phone number to the Cash Money offices. From that moment on, he made it his mission to make sure Birdman knew who he was. He wasn't just going to knock on the door. He was going to break it down with bars. The legendary story goes that Wayne would call the Cash Money office day after day and leave freestyle raps on their answering machine. This wasn't just one or two calls, this was a daily ritual. He would fill up the entire tape with intricate rhymes, showcasing his skill, his hunger, and his creativity. Imagine being an employee at the label, coming in every morning to an answering machine full of fire from this unknown kid. He was turning their voicemail into his personal mixtape, his own private radio station. It was audacious, it was bold, and it was pure, uncut Lil Wayne. He was refusing to be ignored. He wasn't just calling the office either. He would hang out at the local record store where Birdman was known to frequent, hoping for a chance encounter. He made sure he was always around, always visible, always rapping. He was creating his own buzz, making himself impossible to overlook. This was the hustle and grit of Hollygrove applied to the music business. He wasn't waiting for an invitation. He was creating his own opportunity through sheer force of will. He knew that in a city full of talent, you had to do something extraordinary to stand out from the crowd. His answering machine campaign was exactly that. This relentless pursuit was a testament to his unwavering belief in himself. He knew he had what it took. He knew that if he could just get in the same room as Birdman, if he could just get a chance to rap for him in person, his life would change forever. He wasn't asking for a handout, he was demanding a shot. This period shows the core of who Lil Wayne is, a grinder, a hustler, and a lyrical genius who was willing to bet everything on his own talent. The answering machine tapes were filling up, the buzz was getting louder, and a fateful meeting between the young prodigy and the visionary mogul was getting closer and closer. All of Lil Wayne's efforts, the notebook rhymes, the local battles, led to this moment. In a New Orleans electronics store, Birdman, the kingpin of Cash Money Records, was there. Wayne, just 11 or 12, saw his chance. He walked up, introduced himself, and started rapping, fearless, determined, unforgettable. Birdman saw more than a kid, he saw the future. The impromptu rap session caught Birdman's eye. He gave Wayne his number and Wayne called again and again. Birdman invited him to the Cash Money studio. Surrounded by legends, Wayne stepped up, rapped with fire, and stunned everyone. At just 12, he became the youngest Cash Money star. The game was about to change. Getting signed to Cash Money wasn't just business, it was family. Birdman saw Wayne as a son, moving him out of Hollygrove and into his home. The studio became Wayne's school, surrounded by legends like BG, Juvenile, and Turk. Together they formed the Hot Boys, a brotherhood that changed hip-hop forever. The relationship between Birdman and Lil Wayne quickly evolved into one of the most iconic and complex partnerships in hip-hop history. It was more than just business, it was deeply personal. Birdman, who had lost his own mother at a young age, saw a piece of himself in Wayne, a kid with immense talent growing up in a world of adversity. He took on the role of a father, providing the guidance, protection, and stability that Wayne needed. He wasn't just teaching him the rap game, he was teaching him the game of life. This bond became the emotional core of the Cash Money dynasty, a foundation of loyalty that seemed unbreakable. Wayne, whose biological father had largely been absent from his life, embraced Birdman as his daddy. He looked up to him, not just as a CEO, but as a role model. He adopted Birdman's mannerisms, his business acumen, and his larger-than-life persona. You could hear it in the music and see it in the interviews. The phrase, like father, like son, became their motto, a public declaration of their unique bond. This relationship gave Wayne a powerful sense of security and belonging. He knew that Birdman had his back, which freed him up to focus entirely on his craft and push the boundaries of his creativity without fear. This father-son dynamic fueled their collective ambition. They shared a singular vision: to make Cash Money the biggest label in the world. Every success was a shared victory. They celebrated the platinum plaques, the sold-out tours, and the massive checks together. Birdman provided the platform and the grand strategy, while Wayne provided the once-in-a-generation talent and the relentless artistic output. They were a perfect team, a symbiotic force that was taking over the music industry. Their loyalty to each other became a part of the Cash Money brand, inspiring a cult-like following among fans who were drawn to their story of family and success against all odds. This intense bond, forged in the studios and streets of New Orleans, would define an entire era of hip-hop. It was a relationship that would produce some of the most classic albums and timeless hits of the genre. It would also, years later, face immense turmoil and public fallout, making their story all the more compelling. But in these early days, it was pure and powerful. It was the story of a visionary mogul who discovered a child prodigy and a young boy who found a father. Together, they were about to put the entire music world on notice and carry the sound of New Orleans to heights no one ever thought possible. With Lil Wayne joining Juvenile, BG, and Turk, Birdman's dream team was complete. The Hot Boys. 4 distinct voices from New Orleans united as brothers, their chemistry was electric. Their debut, Get It How You Live, became a regional classic, solidifying Cash Money's dominance. Soon, the Hot Boys were a national phenomenon, defining a new era for Southern rap. While the Hot Boys were taking over, Birdman knew it was time to unleash his secret weapon, Lil Wayne. At just 17, Wayne dropped Thaw Block Is Hot, making a massive statement. It was his official claim to the throne. The album went platinum, solidifying Wayne as the future of hip-hop. His reign was just beginning. With the Hot Boys dominating the charts and solo albums going platinum, Cash Money Records became the hottest independent label in the world. Major labels wanted in, sparking a bidding war. Birdman and Slim struck a revolutionary deal with Universal, keeping their masters and 85% of royalties. This deal launched Cash Money into hip-hop history. The story of Lil Wayne and Birdman is more than a music industry success. It's a modern epic of loyalty, ambition, and the creation of a dynasty that redefined hip-hop. Forged in New Orleans, their partnership sparked a cultural revolution, proving the South had something to say. Birdman and Wayne shattered old paradigms, empowering a new generation to embrace their roots. Their legacy is a pillar of modern hip-hop, proof that you can build a dynasty from anywhere. Birdman and Lil Wayne's blueprint, authenticity, relentless work ethic, and loyalty, changed hip-hop forever. Their music reflected real life in New Orleans, building a family and a brand that inspired generations. Against all odds, they turned raw talent into a global empire. Cash Money is forever.